Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So glad that you are here tonight. My goodness, you guys are amazing. I've got a couple more things that I need to just take care of. I thought I had it all set up, ready to go. I'm actually putting a goal on this video because I feel like because of the content that we're going to discuss tonight, this video, there's no chance that it's going to remain monetized, which is kind of a bummer because these kinds of things we want out there, right? And when YouTube demonetizes a video, it basically stops pushing it out for other people to see, which is, it's a bummer. For me, obviously I have an incentive to want more people to see my videos, but also it's just so important what we're talking about. It's just super important that this news get out there. And so, you're asking, well, what are we talking about? We are talking about news from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, specifically from Florida's Attorney General, a man named James Uthmeyer. I'm not sure how he pronounces his name. I'm not a resident of the great state of Florida, but some news has come out yesterday, and a press conference was held, and I want to watch the press conference with you today. We're going to comment along the way. It's about a 31-minute press conference. I have done my best to make the audio good so that we'll all be able to hear it just fine. You'll probably notice that my volume level is a little bit down today. I've noticed that I've been clipping in my last couple of videos, so you might have to bump up your volume in order to hear us tonight. But I think that I've equalized pretty well my audio with the audio from the video. Done my best anyway. But let's real quick, the thing that caught my eye in the state of Florida is that one of the people that were, and this is really the phrase that I want to avoid saying aloud, but you'll forgive me if I use a more acceptable term. But there is this international CSAM ring that has been busted, and it's just absolutely shocking, the stuff that these people were doing. But the thing that caught my eye is that one of the people that were arrested is this man, Michael Andrew Warren, from no other place than Kissimmee, Florida. And I don't know why. Maybe it's the reticular activator, right? That once we know about something, our senses are like just ready to hear about that thing. And because obviously we've been covering the case of Maddie Soto so much here on the channel, when I saw, and because Maddie, I believe that her, the man who made her life miserable for 5 years, and then ultimately, according to police, took her life, her mom's on again, off again boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, I believe that he was engaged in the same kind of thing with the images and videos that he took of little Miss Maddie. So when I saw that this was coming out of Florida and that one of the arrestees, one of the perpetrators, let's see if I can zoom up on that just a little bit better there. Yeah, it was this guy, Michael Andrew Warren of Kissimmee. My cockles went up. So what I want to do together is watch the press conference, and then we'll comment as we go along. Now, just to let you know, a couple things. One, I have redacted out any of the audio where they use that term, the CP term, okay? Just because I'm trying really hard to get this video out to more people. And so it's a little bit annoying. I think it's 16 or 18 times during this they use that term. I just lowered the volume momentarily while they said that. And then the other thing I did is they had this weird one channel thing working. So I duplicated the channel so it's in mono so it doesn't drive us crazy, okay? So with that intro out of the way, let's go ahead and just dive in.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be back in Tampa again. I'm joined here this morning with Commissioner Mark Glass, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Special Agent in Charge from the Tampa office, Mark Brutinel, and Special Counsel from our Office of Statewide Prosecution, Rita Peters. It's good to be back. I wish it was to talk about something more uplifting, but we do have a big announcement this morning that we are busting an international child ring. We will be bringing charges against 8 individuals this morning, 7 of whom are Florida residents. As a dad of 3 little ones, it's tough to talk about some of this stuff, but what these guys were doing was truly heinous. There's
Cindy,
not a word
I will.
in the English dictionary that can describe the gross content that was on the videos. Our investigators have been able to get their hands on over 1 million videos showing sexual abuse on minors. Many of these individuals were babies that are being sold around the world.
Babies.
The 2023 National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reports over 36 million instances of suspected child sexual exploitation and over 100 million files related to child sex abuse material. And that's only what's getting reported. This continues to be a problem in our country, in our state. Protecting our kids is not an easy task to begin with. And today, with the access to the internet and social media, it allows these sick predators to more easily get access to our kids. And as I've said, my first 5-6 weeks on the job here, that's going to be a major priority for my office. The individuals that are being busted today that purchased this harmful content, many of them found it through TikTok. It was available online.
Wow.
They found access to a portal where they could purchase this dangerous material. TikTok has shown they can very quickly get stuff off their website. If there's unlicensed music or something going around, they've proven with a flip of a switch they can get it off. And it's taken too long for them to get some of this material and avenues to purchase harder, more gross content.
By the way, let me just make a comment, since they're using that term CP that I have brought down the volume on. I do want to point out that that is the legal term. When you look at the statutes, that is the legal term. And we're talking about law enforcement officials. We're talking about prosecution officials, the state attorney general. They're using the proper term. Obviously, we like to call it CSAM. I think that's a much more descriptive word, and I think it's a much more appropriate word. But when it comes to the law, they are using the proper nomenclature.
Get them to be more accountable. So we will be working on that. We are going to hold social media companies accountable that want to put our families and our kids in jeopardy. So today, these 8 defendants are being charged with multiple felony counts, including RICO, money laundering, and purchase of child. Again, I can't tell you in words how gross this content is, but it shows the dangers, the evil that's out there. It is truly evil. And you've got my word that in this state, we are going to do everything we can to hold these people accountable. If you are a child predator, if you are one of these sick people, then I hope you never see the sun again, and I hope you certainly never have access to kids again. So we will continue that fight, and I want to give.
This is honestly, I'm showing a graphic that they share at this press conference. These are the arrestees. I'm sure there are many, many more, but look at this. We're in Turkey, we're in Oregon, New Jersey, and then what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in Florida. And yeah, that whole comment where he's like, I hope you never see the light of day again. I think that's the way we all feel about this particular crime. And in the state of Florida, they've taken it extremely far, further than any other state in the nation. And it probably won't be held up to, I guess, judicial scrutiny, but in Florida, they're taking the SA of children very, very seriously, and they are saying that DP is a valid penalty. So, yeah, I think we all understand how serious this is. let's get back over to it.
Thanks to Rita Peters from Statewide Prosecution for leading this fight. She's going to slap these guys around in the courtroom, and unfortunately I'm figurative in that comment, but thankful to her, as well as investigator Abby George, who busted the case. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Mark Glass.
Thank you, General. Appreciate it. I just want to say, first and foremost, General Uthmeyer has stepped in and stepping up and stepping out. He is really allowing us to just move forward on these types of cases, these long-term cases, and continue on to get these evil, sick people behind bars. I want you to just take a look at that board over here with these folks.
Let me bring that up for you again.
And it is just evil. The faces you see there are faces of evil. The General talked about, we can't even talk about what was on those films and what they had because it is that disturbing.
Oh, man.
More disturbing than you would see even in your movies. Way more. It's evil. And the sad part about it, there's many more out there.
Oh, man, you are not, like, I am so grateful to the men and women who dedicate their careers to hunting down. Like, they have to watch all this, guys. They have to view all of this. Can you imagine what that does to their hearts, to their minds, to their souls? Yeah, this is just beyond any other crime. It's beyond any other crime. It's just absolutely evil, absolutely sick.
Just like these evil people. Many more. And we know it. And through the hard work and dedication of multi-agencies, such as HSI with DHS, our task force agents from multiple agencies across this Tampa Bay area and the rest of the state, FDLE, and our Office of Statewide Prosecution, we're able to get out there and get these evil people out of our society, put them where they belong, behind bars, answer to their crimes. I'm a father. I'm a brother.
Thank you, Linda.
I'm a husband. And I'm your state of Florida commissioner on FDLE. And the stuff that these evil people did emboldens not only me, but the men and women behind me to go out and get more people like this off our streets. This will not be tolerated in the state of Florida. And when I became the commissioner of FDLE, this is one of my highest priorities, is going after sexual predators, sex offenders.
Yeah, I don't want to, like, he's on a roll there. But Kelly, yeah, when we get back to this graphic over here, there are a couple that, wrong button, Gavin, this button. Yeah, one of the guys is in Turkey. So that guy has not been arrested yet. A warrant has been issued for his arrest. And then Jimena Maqueda is in Florida, or I'm sorry, Portland, Oregon. They've got a warrant out for her arrest as well. Everybody else on this board has been arrested. Okay, let me go back over here.
Child molesters, deviants that do this kind of stuff to our children. Not just our children in the United States. We're talking about children all across the world.
That's right.
We would be remiss not to talk about why it was such important to shut down our border. Children that these evil people...
Yeah, I try to remain politically neutral on this. This is obviously a politically hot topic, but it's certainly those of us who feel like the border should be closed. That has been one of the things that we've felt strongly about, for sure.
Do these heinous things with, came across our border. I was out there, and the people that looks like that's their mother, it's not their mother. They're just muling the kid.
Oh, that's a scary thought,
And with
man.
HSI out there looking up the unaccompanied minors, we're helping them, FDLE shouldering with them to try to find these children that were brought into our system to make sure they're safe. And we want to make sure that every one of these children were safe that came across that border, that are here in the United States, first and foremost. But ladies and gentlemen, make no disclaimer here for you. This is evil, and it will not be tolerated.
This is what he's pointing
in the
out
free state
here.
of Florida. I'll be followed up behind me by the Special Agent in Charge, Mark Brutnell, to give you a little bit more in depth about this case. Mark.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Attorney General, for both of your support and your leadership. I know the team really appreciates you guys being here today. Thank you for that. So I'm going to kind of get into a little bit of the weeds of this investigation, which to me, this is one of those career cases. This is one of those cases where you're going to look back 10 years from now and say, I made some change.
All right, I'm looking forward to getting into the weeds here.
It was a lot of hard work, and I'm glad I did it, and the results speak for themselves.
Oh, man.
So what happened was in July of 2024, our agents were working proactively on the internet.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that.
Looking for individuals that like to sell and distribute job. And our agent found a chat room where he was speaking to an individual who directed him to a website called TributePrintedPics.com, which is on the internet. It's not the dark web, it's the straight internet. So our undercover agent went there and began a conversation with an unknown individual who wanted to sell him child. At the end of the day, our agent purchased 6.7 terabytes of child for $100.
6.7 terabytes for $100. Let's just pause for a moment and think about just how much that is. Guys, the reason I know this is because I'm going through like storage issues right now. Every single case that I have looked at in 4 years, which includes some of it like thousands and thousands of photographs and probably 3,000 or 4,000 hours of audio and video files over, and like all of the graphics that I've made and all of the video thumbnails, all the Photoshop files, it's a huge amount. That is about 7 terabytes. So, and it takes forever to copy. So 6.7 terabytes. Oh my goodness.
So I'm going to put that into context. That 6.7 terabytes is 1.2 million videos and pictures of some of the most egregious, disgusting content we've ever seen. My agent has done this for a long time, and he came to me after that purchase and having to view some of that stuff and said, "Boss, it was awful. It was awful."
Oh, that poor guy.
For him to say that, it had to be really bad. I've read the affidavits, and it makes me sick.
We're going to get into those affidavits, guys. As soon as they are public, we're going to get into them. And Miss B, thank you very much for the super chat.
So that's where the case really started off. So within a week after that, working with our Attorney General's office, FDLE and the Attorney General's office, we executed a seizure warrant on that website, TributePrintedPics.com, and we shut it down. We said, "You're not selling that stuff on the internet." We shut it down. Within 2 days, several phone calls from law enforcement agencies all across the country, local, state, federal. "Thank you guys for doing that. Thank you." A lot of them had active cases, and they could not figure out how to shut this website down.
Wow.
The state of Florida shut it down. So as the case progresses, we identify an individual from New Jersey, Krunamar Modi. We realized he was a money mule for this organization. Let me back up. In the midst of our undercover chat, we also were directed how to pay the $100 for this $1.2 million.
Oh, I'm curious about this, but here we are. Krunal Kumar Modi, Cliffwood, New Jersey. You can see him on the left of your screen right there, right here. Right? He's the money guy.
Files. So we went up to New Jersey, working with those authorities in New Jersey. We executed a search warrant at his residence, an arrest warrant, and all of his electronics. We did a very thorough scrub of his electronics, which produced a treasure trove of evidence. This is where the case really started to take off. We were able to identify an individual by the name of John DeVille. Clearly that was an alias. We knew that at the time. But John DeVille and Mr. Modi had over 500 transactions. So that's the volume of transactions of this CSAM that they were distributing and selling. Knowing that was clearly an alias, that was when the case really took off. That's when our primary goal was to find out who John was. As a part of this investigation, we were able to identify 7 people in Florida that had purchased this material from John through Modi. And those customers were identified as Brett Ryan Moore from Orange City, Michael Andrew Warden from Kissimmee,
That's the guy who caught my
Jacob
attention.
Ross Conley from Fern Park, Cody Vance Jordan Muti from Palm Bay, and Israel Cole Thomas from Lakeland. Now, there's 2 customers up here on this board that I'm going to just kind of talk about them briefly. The first one is Frankie Pinero Jr. He is from Groveland, Florida. This individual was listed as a sex offender. He was currently on probation from a child arrest that our office in Orlando did in 2019. He got a very light slap on the wrist for that case, and he was also sentenced to 20 years of probation. We know he bought a large amount of this disgusting material from our guy John, and it was on his phone. So I'm pretty confident, and you'll hear from Rita here in a minute, he's not getting probation on this one. There's no doubt about that. Our second individual was a guy named Brett Allen Snodderly from Clearwater. Again, we know he purchased this material from John. During a search warrant at his residence, we found children's underwear at the residence. Now, we did our due diligence. He was positive he's not a hands-on offender, but obviously great cause for concern.
Yeah.
His phone, which was very tech-savvy, we had to bring it back to the office, get into it with a search warrant, proper legal service, which we did. Ultimately, you guessed it, lots of CSAM on the phone. So about 7 days later, we get an arrest warrant. We have Clearwater PD go pick up Mr. Snarley. And when they do, what does he have? He has a new phone with even more child pornography on the phone. I mean, I don't know what to do at this point. You can't fix that, right? So this guy, we have his phone within a week, a new phone, more child.
The reason that we see this in Florida, raggedy hobo, I mean, hobo, you could dress up a little bit more. I'm just saying. Don't have to be all raggedy all the time. No, the reason that these come out of Florida is because Florida is so open and transparent with their justice system records. They, like other places, the law does not give them the permission to do this kind of stuff. And I mean, I'm grateful for Florida. We make fun of Florida, the whole Florida man meme and everything. But the reason that the Florida man meme works is because we're able to get so much information out of Florida.
Investigation continues, always searching for John. We identify through HSI another money mule, Exima Maqueda from Portland, Oregon. She was a facilitator for the sale of this disgusting material. She has a current arrest warrant now for money laundering. We also identified suspects.
He had a hard time saying her name. Jimena Maqueda is her name. There she is. She's right here. That is Jimena. All right. Quick time getting back over here.
In Canada and Ireland, and we're working with HSI in that regard. So finally, after almost a year of diligent work, 140 subpoenas, 20 search warrants, endless hours of analysis. You see this chart here. That's kind of a way to break down the spider web that we had to sift our way through and figure out who's.
Yeah, raggedy hobo, it's the latter. We're just not hearing about it.
Here. We were
I mean, also Florida is dead serious about this stuff, right? I mean, they're obviously putting efforts into these kinds of investigations. I'm not saying other states aren't. I mean, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for example, there is a whole statewide task force, and each county has a bit of it. So the county detectives in every single county in the Commonwealth, there are members of the county detectives on the drug trafficking task force and on the human trafficking task force, and they handle so many of these. And so, yeah, other states are doing terrific work. Florida, we just get to hear about it more often.
To identify John DeVille as Mehmet Bozayuk from Adana, Turkey.
Right there at the top.
Mr. Mehmet was very deliberate in hiding his identity. He utilized multiple layers of VPNs, money mules, obviously, burner accounts, burner phones. He also used a lot of stolen personal identification information that he would steal off the web to send money through different channels. He really, really believed that he could outsmart us, but at the end of the day, he didn't. He tried to profit on this horrific abuse of children, but we caught him. A little backstory on Mr. Mamet. He's married with 2 kids, and this is his
of course he
way
is.
of making money. We currently have an arrest warrant for him in the system. We are talking with a...
How is it possible to have children of your own, to hopefully love them and care for them and want the best for them, and how is that possible that that can be the case, and then other people's children you just treat as objects? You have to be able to compartmentalize, I guess, right? You have to be able to say to yourself that those children aren't real children. I don't know. How do you do that? It's just beyond my ability to even imagine.
Our partners at HSI to try to get him extradited to Florida, and I hope we can pull that off because he will be held accountable here in Florida, no doubt about it. An excellent case, the teamwork. Again, as a father, like everyone has mentioned before, I was amazed at these guys, the way their dogged pursuit of him. Again, it's one of those cases where you're going to look back when you're over with this career and say, I made a difference. That's just one network. I'm sure there's several more out there that we are actively going to target as well.
There's probably thousands
more.
more.
So with that, I'm going to bring up ASAC McCombs from HSI to talk about their role in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, SAC Brutnell. It's a great honor to be here today to speak with you all on this case, and most importantly, our great collaboration with the state of Florida and its partners. No finer partners to have than partners at the state of Florida. FDLE is a tremendous, tremendous partner for us, and the citizens of Florida should be proud for the level of investigative effort that went into this investigation to keeping all of our families safe, to include my own.
To me, it feels like he actually feels that, right? That law enforcement officers, I mean, oh my goodness, can you imagine the stuff that you see, that you would see on a daily basis as an investigator of these kinds of crimes, and then have to go home to your loved ones and just pray that they do not become a victim of this kind of crime? I mean, I just found out today about a juvenile victim. I'm not going to give away any information here, but I found out about a juvenile victim in our area that I know, and fortunately now is safe. But to investigate these kinds of crimes, and then, you know, as a parent, you teach your children as best as you possibly can. But ultimately, if you're a parent of young children, you may not know this yet. But ultimately, you have no control. Kimberly and I have a 24-year-old, we have a 23-year-old, we have a 21-year-old. We have no control, and that control starts to slip away from your grasp when they are young teens. At least that's the way it was in my situation. So when he said, keep our family safe, to include my own, I feel like he actually feels that. He means it.
HSI has 90 offices in 56 countries all around the world, and a number of them were utilized in this investigation to uncover this network. You know, oftentimes we will bring these investigations to the state, but this one was the reverse. They brought us in on this investigation, and we're very thankful for that. It's a great partnership when the federal government and the state government can combine resources and leave no stone unturned worldwide to uncover massive amounts of child at a low, global, systemic level, and one that we're going to, you know, work very hard to dismantle.
Yeah, I don't want to understand.
We will
the
not
mindset.
stop in pursuing these investigations. We can't stop, and the level and brutality of these images are sickening, and I've seen a lot. I just want to thank the investigators on this investigation, some of the best that I've seen. the financial analysis, some of the best that I've seen in my 28 years of federal law enforcement, and very, very proud to be a part of this investigative team. And I also want to thank my investigators at Homeland Security Investigations in Tampa. Thank you.
Good morning. By way of reintroduction, excuse me, my name is Rita Peters, and I have the pleasure of serving under as Attorney General James Uthmeyer at Office of Statewide Prosecution. I specialize in matters involving human trafficking, sex crimes, child exploitation, and I have been doing that for about 26 years. And to say that the images and videos that I observed in this case were the most horrendous is an understatement.
Oh.
In July 2024, the Florida
that breaks my heart. She's been doing this 26 years and in this arena, and she was heartbroken over what she saw in this case. Wow.
Law enforcement contacted me to assist in an investigation regarding a sale of images of child exploitation, child sexual abuse material. We learned that for $100, they were able to obtain links that led them to over 1 million videos of children involved in some of the most heinous types of sexual brutality that I have ever seen. Brutality that involved infants, necrophilia, brutal sexual battery, and molestation. These horrific pictures and videos capture real, identifiable children whose names are in the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Oh my goodness, the work that they had to go through to match that. Like, I'm not just saying just this case. I'm talking about so many cases where they have to identify these poor kids. Goodness sake. Ms. B, I wanted to pause for this question. Not sure how to ask this, may sound naive, but where do these monsters get access to these babies' children? This is so disturbing. No, first of all, I am happy that you are naive about this, because I have been naive about it, and I really wish that I was back in that little world. But you guys know we've been talking about Maddie Soto. This little girl, there were allegedly 1,700 photos and videos of her being SA'd by this guy. Okay, so he got access to her, and I think that this sounds like it was a repository, like you're subscribing to it. Okay, tell you what, give me $100 and I'll let you in, which is just, I mean, it's just completely, it would be unbelievable, except that very credible people are telling us about it, right? Just nuts. Just nuts.
Children have been identified series within that directory. They are victims of human trafficking. They're also victims of sexual battery and a plethora of other crimes. And these kids are from the United States. We began by sending subpoenas to multiple companies to start the paper trail and see where we were going. That was followed up with search warrants to various financial entities, as well as online communication applications. And then we kept following that paper trail until we finally learned the identity of our main distributor, Mehmet from Turkey. Through our past investigative experiences and information that we were able to obtain in the early stages of our investigation, we determined that the vehicle that was used by Mehmet was tributeprintedpics.com. And very quickly, we shut that down. We seized that website, and FDLE was able to shut it down. And as you've heard, multiple agencies, we actually heard from global agencies, England as well, that they thanked us for shutting that website down because it had been such a source of a problem.
Wow.
Through the following steps, we isolated the individuals that you see on that board who took part in not only the distribution by Mr. Mehmet, but also the purchase of all of these images. It is because of that desire to see children being brutally raped, the demand for that this was possible. In addition, we learned that Mr. Boziuk Mehmet also employed identification from other individuals stolen on the dark web to use their financial resources or their financial accounts to obtain funds from buyers to also sell this child. We spoke to 2 of those individuals who had no idea that their financial accounts had been utilized for that purpose, one of whom was in Canada that broke down.
Jess, I would love to find out about that a little bit more. Let's take that offline, maybe over in Slack.
Filtered money through these accounts just so that he can enrich himself through the sale of child.
Wow.
These individuals have all been charged in Hillsborough County Court. Krunal Kumar Narashabi Modi from New Jersey is facing a 65-year sentence for RICO or racketeering, conspiracy to racketeer, and money laundering. Frankie Pinero Jr., who also faced child charges in the 9th Judicial Circuit, is charged with conspiracy to commit RICO, purchase of child and use of a two-way communication device to commit a felony, 40 years, Florida State Prison. And a side note, Mr. Pinero was charged by our Office of Statewide Prosecution through the Orlando Bureau with the additional child that we obtained off of the electronic items, and he has pled and received a 35-year sentence on that one. So it is just a matter of days before we have him in our jurisdiction. We have Brett Ryan Moore, also charged with conspiracy to commit RICO, purchase of child and use of a two-way communication device, again 40-year sentence. Israel Cole Thompson, conspiracy to commit RICO, purchase of child and use of a two-way communication device, 40 years. Brett Allen Snodderly, similarly, 40 years. Jacob Ross Conley, 40 years. Cody Vance Jordan Muti, 40 years. Michael Warren, 40 years. And then ultimately we will have Mehmet and also Jimena from Oregon. They will be charged. Mr. Mehmet Boziuk will have a whole host of charges, and his exposure will be well over 400 years in Florida State Prison.
Good.
It was a pleasure to do this investigation. This was, hands down, just good old-fashioned police work, and that's what it was. It was a partnership. We made ourselves available at all hours, every day, as did every other agency, because it was about saving those children and making sure that we would take this element off of the street.
Thanks,
and
Michelle.
we look forward to prosecuting these individuals. We look forward to bringing Mr. Boziuk back from Turkey so that he can be answerable to our courts and receive the sentence that he so richly deserves. Thank you.
Man, you know what? I would not want to be on the receiving end of her prosecution. When she described it as being a pleasure to do the investigation, to work on the investigation, I think that she, rightfully so, is able to get pleasure out of knowing that she's taking people out of circulation in the regular population and putting them into circulation in the prison population. Oh my goodness. That is an impressive person right there. She's pretty amazing.
Thank you, Rita. Parents and families at home can rest assured knowing Rita's here fighting the fight. And
yeah, that's right.
Keeping our kids safe. With that, we'll open it up if there's any questions.
Do you have Mr. Boziuk in custody in Turkey, or is he currently at large, and is there an avenue to extradite him here?
Asking if he's at large.
He is not currently in custody. We are working to get him. We'd like to extradite him over here and hold him accountable here, if at all possible. So we'll be working hard on that.
Will the government of Turkey cooperate?
I think some conversations have begun, but I can't really share much more than that unless somebody else has something to add. No.
So the low-level offenders, we typically see a lot of arrests. Sheriff judges have a lot of success in that. But this seems to stretch a lot further. And you've got
Look at her back there. She's like, yeah, I'm taking these guys down.
Can you talk about how meaningful that is to you?
Yeah, cases like this are tough. There's tons of these sick guys out there. There are, and you can stumble upon to a guy purchasing something here or there. And then you got kind of the tough decision. You want to get these perverts off the street right away, but you also can see, well, there's more to be had here. So is there more than what's on this board? Possibly, but we're at a point now where we've cracked the large international nature of this ring. Where we got to get these people in and hold them accountable. We'll keep looking. We'll keep investigating on the peripheries here, see who else might fall under our authority. But you've hit on the tough spot. How hard do you keep investigating versus getting dangerous people off the streets. And we were at a point here where we felt like we had to bust these guys. We'll keep working on it, but I think we've learned a lot through this investigation that's going to help us as we try to expose and prosecute the larger international efforts here that harm kids.
That's a great answer.
Mentioned it was a career case or one that you'll never forget. Is that because it went international, because of the amount of images or videos, what was on it? Like, what kind of made it one that stands out from all the others?
I think you hit on both of it. The international element, the fact that you had this guy in Turkey working with, a couple people over here to disseminate this largely, and then the volume was tremendous, and then the content. These kids in the videos are being abused again and again, and then to have this content sold and distributed where that victimization continues to occur every single day, just made this, a mammoth case of evil. And for our investigator to stumble upon it and to be able to bust it is very meaningful for the state, for the country, really for the world.
And would you mind?
Yeah, come on.
If I could just add one thing to your question there, I think a couple of things make this the career case. To me, the saturation of this stuff on the internet is very concerning. $100 got you 1.2 million videos. That's a big issue, a bigger issue, obviously. But as we targeted our Florida folks, make no mistake, we have a bunch of evidence of individuals around the country, and those leads are going out to other law enforcement agencies.
Yeah, good.
We just focused on Florida first, but the Met had a large-scale international and national.
I hope that people all around the country and all around the world that are like, I paid $100 for about that, and that website sounds familiar. I hope they listen to that and recognize that their days of freedom are numbered. That they're just arresting the Florida folks, but they've got leads. Oh my goodness. Oh, I hope that there are thousands of people that get arrested because of this investigation.
And we have those folks identified, and those leads are going out. Make no mistake,
Yes.
there'll be more arrests off this. This case is tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Because obviously you have facial recognition software, I'm sure you apply.
Yes.
And there's the Missing and Exploited Children's Network. Have you identified any children that have been abducted or otherwise are part of that network that you'll be able to help them recover?
Yes, sir, not as of yet, but we were able to identify several series of this downloads that have been identified from NCMEC as that, which is also concerning, but also new ones, which we'd never seen before. So
NCMEC that he's talking about there is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's the website that I was just showing you guys. It's got a giant database of missing and exploited kids.
When they told me $100 got me 1.2 million, what are we doing? I mean, that's very concerning.
Are you guys able to walk us through sort of this spider web? Is that the hierarchy of power of this ring, or is that sort of like your steps, or just sort of what are we looking at on that?
That is just the depths at which Mehmet covered his tracks. Those are the ways he tried to stay away from his business by using burner phones, accounts, stealing uninvolved people's identification and using them as money mules, unbeknownst to them. As Rita said, we spoke to an individual in Canada who had no idea that this guy was using his stuff to facilitate his international child.
Oh my goodness.
He was very, very slick. Not anymore though, but he was.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I will ask a question. What are some things that you can encourage families and parents?
Great question. How do we protect our families?
From getting caught up in this kind of web?
Sure.
Preventions, different things that,
Yeah, the first thing, if you are not going and looking at social media and what's out there, you need to. And I'm not telling you, go look for porn, but you can see it is not hard to find it on publicly available social media websites like TikTok.
Yeah.
As I said before, we're going to be cracking down. They got to
Twitter.
get that stuff off of there. But the access, people, they're skilled. They impersonate others, and they try to lure kids in. So if you're teenagers, if you're young people, if they have access to social media, you should be all over that. The legislature passed a great bill a year ago where young kids cannot have access without parental consent, without parental involvement. We're litigating that law right now, and I think it's going to end up in the right way. It's the right thing to do. But you need to be having those conversations with your kids. You need to be exercising controls where you can, if you even want to let your kids have some of this information. I know those are difficult decisions. That's for you as a parent, and for every parent it's going to be a little bit different. But I cannot say enough to scare you about how dangerous social media is for young people right now. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add.
Thank you, sir. Also, when you move somewhere or you're living in a neighborhood, FDLE has a website for you to take a look at, and these clowns are already on it. So now I'm going to call them clowns because they're clowns. They're already on it. So know what's in your neighborhood. Know what's in your neighborhood. Know who your kids are going over to whose house. Know what's going on. Be parentally involved. Do not let the government parent.
By the way, I think every state in the country has a website that you can go to see what kind of predators that have been caught are around you, how close they are. We should all know. That's the purpose of having that information published.
Your kids, because the government cannot parent your kids. We can uphold the law, pursue the law, and protect you in that manner. But you as a parent have to be involved with your children at all costs. This is also solid in knowing who's coming in your home, whether it be contractual services, whether you have maids, whether you have you got some work done on your house. Know who you're contracting with. And then we have many websites within the state of Florida, from everything from seeing if it's a reputable company. We already doing you can check the reputable company and knowing who's coming to your house. You can ask the person who's contracting, who's coming to my house? What's their name? You can go online and check it yourself. I recommend a lot of people do that. A lot of people don't do that because they're afraid they'll offend somebody. Trust me, go ahead and
who cares?
Because they're offended. If they're
that's what Beth Meeks taught us, right? Like, who cares about the social norms and whether you're going to hurt somebody's feelings? Don't do that. Protect yourself. Be offensive. Protect yourself, and especially your kids.
Offended, then there's a problem. Because if I had a business and you were checking to see what contractors coming to my house, I'm going to say, yeah, it's John Q. Smith, it's Joe Citizen. That's who's coming here, and and we do background checks in our systems and everything too. Please do yours too. If you see anything, please let us know, because then I would get you off my rolls as an employee. If you're a reputable company, you will do that. If you're not, you're just going to go grab anybody that's there. Remember, a lot of these folks, when they go down this pathway, do not have, they can't get certain jobs because you won't pass your background in and around children or in and around people. So they go to these type of things. So just pay attention to who's coming to your house and who's in the area. So.
Wow. Yeah, it's good advice.
Anything else? Go to the order. Yeah, I'll close by saying two things. One, one of these individuals was on a lighter probation sentence by the state attorney over in Orlando. Just another example of the dangers that can be out there when you have people that want to go soft on crime. So our office is going to be looking at that individual, her conduct going forward. We want to make sure that we are enforcing rule of law, we are upholding the duties that oaths are sworn to in the Constitution, and that we are keeping the streets as safe as we can. And then the second thing I'll say, again, to echo, this was a great team operation. We got a great thing going here in Florida. Our state law enforcement, the AG's office, Homeland Security, and our federal partners, we're working well together, to advance public safety and rule of law. Our state law enforcement officers, they need a raise, a big one. The governor's proposed it. I've been screaming from the hilltop, and hopefully our legislature will come through this year and deliver. It's getting more expensive to live in Florida, as everybody knows, and we're all dealing with that. But these public servants that put their lives on the line every day, it's tough on them. We got to have their backs and help them to be successful. So thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
And that is it. Holy criminy. I sometimes want to just stay naive. I just don't even want to know what's going on. And by the way, guys, it's because of investigators like this and prosecutors like this that our world is actually a safer place now than it was at peak criminality in the early 90s, right? When we were growing up, when I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, that was a much more dangerous world than we live in now. We just didn't know it, so we behaved in very dangerous ways. But anyway, yeah, want you guys to know that. A couple of comments before we call it a night. Tracy Talks a Lot says, Gavin, the commodification of human lives, and most egregiously children, is so heinous. How can we as a society, how can we get society to value humanity? Wow, what a deep and thought-provoking question. Yeah, oh my goodness. Headphone head. Give me a second. My question about Mr. Modi earlier, not Modi, I'm sorry, Bozuyuk. Well, actually, everybody on this, how can they have children of their own if they do? We know that the ringleader did. And do what they do. I don't know how we get as a society to value humanity. I do want to say, though, I want to reiterate that while it sometimes doesn't feel this way, I find that people are mostly good. Everywhere I go, there's good people that I find. Everywhere I go. I've been reporting on a story that's been happening in a neighboring county the last couple of days that is really kind of like, it has nothing to do with crime. It's a political story. But where was I going with that? Just how everybody I talked to about the story really is kind of broken up and shaken up about how sad it is that what happened. Dude, my play button fell back there. Did you guys see that? I wondered what that sound was. Anyway, I think that societally speaking, by and large, we do value humanity. We do value our children. There's just this small little percentage of our society that doesn't. And that's who we need to focus on. All right. Oops. Yeah, I just saw it. My button fell. Gonna have to get that remounted. I was all excited about that. Where are we going? Yeah, Sandra says the issue parenting these days lacks a ton of supervision. I don't find that to be true in my life. Like when I was a kid, I lived a life of go play, come back when the street lights turn on, or come back by dinner time. And my kids don't have that. They're I think we've probably over supervised them a little bit. But yeah, we definitely need to know what our kids are doing. Sometimes they're doing it right under our nose. Like our kiddos, we have a family computer that is in a public space. It's in the children's playroom, which is on the first floor. It's also the place where Kimberly does her yoga and exercise and stuff like that. So it's in a very, very public, non-shut off place. It's positioned in a way that everybody can see what's going on that monitor. Those are good practices. Still, though, we need to teach our children to be vigilant and understand that there's danger out there. Just says FDLE has a great website for SO maps. I saw someone on there who was following me around the grocery store. I thought I was being paranoid, but it was my gut telling me something. Wow. Wowdy dow. Linda, thoughts on whether SS had any connections to this? I tend to think so. He was more likely to be in his own puddle. Yeah, probably. 1.2 million images, guys. Whew, how many victims is that? Makes me wonder if Maddie was one of those victims. Whew. Tony says, I agree the internet makes it easier, but there will be people who can still be a threat with someone as close as your neighbor. Know where your kids are. Yes. Yes. Oh, let's see if there are any. I bet Jimmy did that. Jimmy is messing with me on my new set. Jimmy. He's naughty. Having an open dialogue helps for sure. Super charismatic. LOL, no kidding. I was what you call a free range child in the 80s. My parents had no idea where I was. Yeah, I was at the creek looking for crawdads most of the time, or jumping my BMX bike. You know, the one with the mag wheels and the post that you could stand on. It was amazing. It was a dyno. It was great. Sandra says, not sure the bubble you live in, but come to Florida, latchkey kids all over. Absolutely no supervision at all. Wow. Yeah, kids should know that they can come to you with anything too. You guys, yeah, we need to be vigilant. You guys are awesome. Thanks for joining me tonight. I know this is a subject matter that is extremely disturbing. I'm really impressed with the team down there in Florida that we saw in that press conference, working hard to find the people who are responsible in Florida that they can prosecute. And I am enthusiastic about him saying that they've identified others in other states and they are making those. What did he call them? I can't remember. Anyway, they were getting the word out to other law enforcement agencies. I think there are probably hundreds or maybe even thousands of people that are going to go down because of this. And I hope that when they do, they won't get a soft on crime prosecutor. I hope they will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Thank you, everyone who supported me tonight. Thanks for being here. Thanks for keeping it classy. Thanks to my mods. Thank you very much for the super chats. I really feel like this is going to be demonetized with the way things were being, words were being used. And I appreciate you guys taking care of me in that way. Always know that you can reach out to me on my website, gavinfish.com. That's where you can get to Crime Cod. That's where you can get to the Fish Tank. Fish Tank is where we hang out on Facebook. Crime Cod is my true crime website on the interwebs, where you can sign up for a newsletter and all that stuff. Okay, so definitely check those things out. And then I will be back with you tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm looking for a little break in a couple of cases that we're working on, some content that I'm going to be able to bring you on the Judge Kevin Mullins case, especially. So working on that. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but it will be soon. All right. With that, I bid you adieu. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.